Hi, guys. It's Dr. Pam, Academic Coaching for World Changers. And thank you for tuning in for just a couple of minutes to go over definitely some questions that we might see on the social work exam. If you are just tuning into us, remember to subscribe and like our channel. We're really trying to release videos so very often. I am Dr. Pam. I am the owner of Academic Coaching for World Changers, and we are one of the very few unique tutoring companies. We provide one-on-one tutoring or small group tutoring that's really focused on how you learn. We don't sell a canned program. We really focus on what's best for you. So I hope you enjoy this question today and really learn from it. So I'm going to again remind you, I am Dr. Pam. I'm the owner of Academic Coaching for World Changers. Many people say that tutoring is too expensive. I'll say that taking any test 3, 4, 5 times is way too expensive. The tests are about $300 a pop, and I don't have enough self-esteem to keep taking a test. So invest in yourself. You are worth it. What I'll tell you is when it comes to social work, we're not a fan of the acronyms. I don't have enough room in my head to remember all those acronyms. I don't. But what I do know as a college professor, and you guys know that you spent 15 weeks taking classes, probably 2, on the social work methods or the social work problem solving method. So when we have test questions, they're either going to see, do you know the method, or is it a recall question? Safety, eat pie, eat cake. I don't know. I can't do those. All I can tell you is we're going to follow what we learned in school. Assess, assess first. We get paid to be nosy. I don't care if it says first, next, best. I get paid to be nosy. Now, there are a couple of times when I can't assess if the question is full of feelings. If Dr. Pam is crying and she's so upset, and you turn into a session with me and I'm boo-hooing, are you going to at least ask if I'm okay? I hope so if you're human. And of course, safety trumps everything. So Dr. Pam or the client comes in to see Dr. Pam, and the client says they're suicidal and they have a gun in the car. Okay. So assess, assess, assess first. If you remember one thing, assess before you intervene. We get paid to be nosy. Keep asking questions. And then if we can't assess, the 2 reasons we'll go backwards are going to be to address the client's feelings and also then to make sure that everybody is safe. After I've assessed, I'm going to remember I planned with the client, never for the client. We don't ever tell a client what to do. And all of you that have 1,000 steps of how we should do the community, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I want you to learn to follow the same plan. The way that we teach it now in class is it's across environments, whether it's a individual, a couple, a family, a group, a community. I'm going to use the same steps. I'm going to plan with the community. I don't go in a community and tell them what to do, right? So I don't tell family what to do. So assess, 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 plan with the clients. Treatment goals were coming up together. And if you remember that termination starts in the beginning, my goal is to work my way out of my client's life. Always, always, always. From the beginning, whether it's semester, whether it's tutoring with us, whatever, you know when it's going to end. Termination starts at the beginning. If you're a hospital social worker, or the question says a hospital social worker, you know the minute they sign that they have insurance or they don't have insurance, we come up with that intake plan. We're trying to get them out. Remember those things as you're trying to answer the questions, okay? If it's not a recall test, it may be if it's not a intervention, wow. If it's not focused on the problem solving, it's a recall. We look at Bloom's taxonomy in both of those questions, okay? So Bloom's taxonomy is the higher level thinking skills. So many times you'll get a recall question. I hate those. I'll be so honest. Those one-line questions where I just have to know the information or I don't. To me, those are the hardest. I'll take a paragraph all day long because I can go through, I can figure it out based on the verbiage they're giving me. But Bloom's taxonomy is the terminology that we're testing is based on. Do you remember? Do you understand? Most often what we get on this test is apply analyze, and evaluate. Right? But you will get a few recall questions, but I'll tell you, those are the harder ones for me. Either you know it or you don't. So as we look at the question, we're going to talk about different questions. I'm going to remind you, always, 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 it's a reading test. It is a reading test. If you watch any of our videos, I'm going to spend more time in the question than I do in the answers. What happens with so many of our clients, remember, we tutor about 150 clients a week. Okay, so we're really good at what we do. We've got an excellent passing rate, and we know what we're doing based on research. Our tutoring is evidence-based, looking at neuroplasticity and how your neurons continue to fire, and really based on then meeting with our clients where they pass or fail afterwards to figure out what we're doing wrong. So we've got an excellent passing rate, but it's research-based. So it's a reading test. It's a reading test. It's a reading test. It's a reading test. The question says, Linda is meeting with her client, Joe, for a regular session. Linda asked, if you could fix the biggest thing wrong in your life, what would your life look like? Okay, so I've got about 20 words there. Linda is meeting with her client, Joe. It's the first time. It matters. Every word in the question matters. People that tell you that there are distractors, no. Every word in the question matters. Okay. So Linda is meeting with her client, Joe. It's the first time. Linda says, if you could fix the biggest thing wrong in your life, what would your life look like? This is an example of what? This is a recall question, guys. Oh my gosh, it's a recall. It's a recall. It's a recall. My four choices are object relations theory, scaling, the miracle question, or motivational interviewing. So before I look at all of those questions and the answers, I'm going to stay in the question. I'm going to spend time going back into the recesses of my mind if I can remember what they're talking about. I always want to know, what is the question measuring? Every question measures a KSA, knowledge, skill, or ability. Every single question is measuring something. Those are just facts. The goal is, what is the question measuring and what do they want me to answer? I'll remind you, unless you see your first name, last name, and your social security number in the question, we don't care what you think. Everybody takes the exact same test. We don't care what happens in your office. My supervisor said, we don't care. Everyone takes the exact same test. So I know that this is a theory question and an intervention question. A lot of my social workers on all levels struggle with these because you haven't spent enough time learning the terminology that belongs to intervention. Even if you know the answer to the question, you're going to follow the same rules. We're going to assume that at this point you don't know the theory, and we're going to continue to teach it. So what are they measuring? If you could fix the biggest thing wrong in your life, what would your life look like? I interviewed someone this week, and she said that she saw questions that were solution focused. You might not have realized this, but this is a solution focused question. Solution focused is brief, 6 to 8 weeks. Solution focused is very present and future oriented. It helps us look at fixing the goal. One of the things that you might see is this is very EAP style, right? So if I've got 6 to 8 brief sessions, I don't have time to go back to what happened when you were 3. I just don't have time for that. I've got to figure out what is the problem briefly and how do we make it better. I'm looking for terminology that belongs to solution focused. Okay. It focuses on the strengths, not the weaknesses. What's going right? That medical model is what happens with most of us. We go see the doctor and the doctor says, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? Solution focus says, I don't really care what's wrong. I want to know what's right. Let's focus on what is working for you. So if I focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses, reaching a goal or resolving a problem is easier because we're already talking about going forward. What's working for you, Pam? We don't have to recreate the wheel if it's already working. Okay. We're going to identify what's going right, not what's going wrong. We're not ignoring the problem, but I'm not spending session time going back on what caused the problem. I don't want to ignore the fact that you were abused when you were a kid or that your husband left you. I don't want to ignore that fact, but we've got 6 to 8 sessions. I've got to figure it out. Some of the critics say that it's a Band-Aid approach. Okay, again, this is not a test about your opinion. It's only a test of, do you know what the miracle question is? You'll not usually see the theorist who wrote it, but it's Stephen DeShazer, in NCE. If you see those names, you probably won't, but that's again where it comes from. So the miracle question says, suppose that one night you're asleep and the miracle and the problem that brought you here is resolved. Right? You came to therapy today because you're sad, you're depressed, you don't like your job, you want to kill yourself. But what happens if you went to sleep tonight and a miracle happened and suddenly you were no longer depressed? What would that look like? Okay. I hope you're getting the connection between the question and what they're asking you, because nowhere did it say in the question, miracle question or solution focus. I just had to have the knowledge to be able to glean that from the question. Solution focus has interventions, the miracle question I just went over, the scaling technique. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 is the worst, and 10 is after the miracle happened. Where are you now, and where do you want to be? So I always say this, if you've tutored with me before. So if I go to see my therapist and I say, oh my gosh, I am so depressed. I can't get out of bed. I don't want to get up. And he says, Pam, if you woke up tomorrow and you weren't depressed anymore, what would it look like? We're like, oh my gosh, I'd be out jogging at 5 a.m. La, 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 singing with the birds, right? La, 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 la. I would have gotten a good night's sleep. Life is good. And I'm so excited to be up and awake at 5 a.m. That is the miracle question. And that is my 10. That is my 10. That's what, if I weren't depressed at all, what it would look like. Now, every time I come in, he's going to say, how close are you to your 10? Not what went wrong. How come you didn't get close to your 10, but how closer to your 10? One of the other techniques is the accept question. When is the problem not a problem? Okay, we focus on descriptions versus exceptions. Increase awareness of past successes. He's going to say, well, Pam, was there a time when you weren't depressed? Was there a time that you were able to get up and go jogging at 5 a.m.? What did that look like, and how do we get back there? Again, I do not want to recreate the wheel. If it was already working, let's go back to a time that it was working for you. Okay. Again, tell me about the problems. Tell me about the times when the problem wasn't a problem. When does your partner listen to you? Tell me about days when you wake up more full of life. Those are all examples of the accept question. When is the problem not a problem? Solution focus, 6 to 8 weeks, brief therapy, focusing on the here and now and the future. So what we're going to look at is what is happening right now. If your future was perfect, the miracle question, what would it look like? The scaling technique tells me what your 10 is. And the accept question is, when is the problem not a problem? That's the verbiage I'm looking for in the question. That's also the theory behind the question. So many times my clients, my social work clients especially, have no idea the theory behind the question. And I will say to you, did you have any solution-focused questions? And you'll look at me and say, no. I think the problem is you don't understand, or you haven't been able to connect content with application. It's a recall question, but this is the question. And nowhere do I see the miracle question, but I'm supposed to know what they're asking me. Okay. So Linda is meeting with her client Joe for their regular session. Linda says, if you could fix the biggest thing wrong in your life, what would it look like? I need you to be able to understand from that is the miracle question. So what we do is always read all four. Even if you know it's the answer, we're going to always follow the rules. Read all four. Object relations theory, scaling, the miracle question, and motivational interviewing. We are not a fan of ever taking test questions as studying. We do not think that's studying at all. And I do realize that many other coaches and tutors say do test questions daily. We don't agree with that. We want you to learn. If you learn material, if you learn content, you can get every question right. When you're looking at these four answers, you should know who they belong to. Object relations is Margaret Mailer, right? She talked about unconsciously having a soft place to land, knowing that someone always has my back. She said that children who don't have a relationship with the same caregiver for the first 3 years can end up with borderline, antisocial personalities, and many other things. The scaling technique does belong to solution focus. That's the 1 through 10. The miracle question I've talked about. Motivational interviewing. Remember, that belongs to the theory of the trans theoretical model, the stages of change. That started off with my drug and alcohol people. And remember, pre-contemplation, contemplation, etc. Hang around. I'll do some more questions on that theory. But again, as I'm looking at these questions, I should know all four of these. I'm always going to rule out two. So I would rule out object relations theory, and I'd probably rule out the motivational interviewing. I'd be stuck between B and C because I know both of these terms belong to solution focused. So as I do that, I do know that, of course, my answer is the miracle question. It talks about what the client wants. It gives us a very concrete, measurable, realistic terms because, again, I only have 6 to 8 weeks. So remember, with solution focus, I'm looking for the verbiage in the question, or knowing the question, knowing the content so well that I know what they're asking me. For many of us, we have studied solution focus left, right, up, down. We've tried to memorize it, and we get to the test, and you'll swear up and down you didn't have any solution focus questions. You just didn't know what to look for because you didn't really understand the theory. It's not a memorization test. We at Academic Coaching for World Changers don't ever pretend we make you a better social worker or clinician. That is not our goal. Our goal is to make you a better test taker. Our clientele are the smartest of the smart. We don't have anybody that we serve that barely graduated. You're the smart kids. You learned how to write papers, but what you didn't learn is how to pass a standardized test. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's what makes us different than other tutoring companies. And we want you to watch all of our free videos. And if you find that you're talking back to the videos and you're struggling, sign up for a couple of sessions with us. That's what we're here for. So to wrap up, the key concepts of solution focus say, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So don't fix what isn't broken. If it's working, it's working. If there are times you're not depressed, let's figure out what works about those times that you're not depressed. Okay. So in addition to not making changes, we're going to focus on what is right. Stop doing what doesn't work. If it's not working, let's stop doing it. Again, I only have 6 to 8 weeks. Very brief, trying to fix the problem. This is where you find us, guys. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also find us at our website. I am Dr. Pam. We have an entire staff that really focuses on helping you pass the test. We truly believe that you didn't choose this calling chose you. I believe that in Jeremiah, it says that I knew you when you were in your mother's womb. It's a stupid sheet of paper. And our goal is to help you get this stupid sheet of paper and reach for your goals, attain your goals, and do what I believe your higher power has called for you to do. Hope you understood the question today. I hope you like and subscribe to our channel. And if you find yourself really stuck, sign up with some live sessions with me or any members of my staff. Bye, guys, and thank you again for being a world changer.